Hello, wonderful friends, and welcome to our story circle. Gather around and listen to a tale from our land, a story of love, loss, and the unbreakable strength of a mother's heart. There was a beautiful and hard-working lady named Grace. She came from a good family, was well-educated, and had a bright spirit. Grace was a true modern woman, completely independent. She had a great career as a top performer in a big corporate office in Lagos. She paid her own bills, rented her own lovely apartment, and lived a happy, fulfilled life. But life, my friends, is like a talking drum. Sometimes it beats softly, sometimes it beats loudly, and sometimes it beats in a rhythm we never expect. One day, a handsome and charming man named Greg saw her. His heart was immediately captured. He decided he must marry her. Greg wooed Grace with sweet words and huge promises. He promised her heaven on earth and swore she would never know a day of suffering. He was like a careful hunter, laying a tender trap of love and flattery. Grace, believing his sincere heart, agreed to marry him. Greg built a beautiful new home for her, a comfortable nest for their love. They had a joyful traditional wedding where Greg presented the palm wine to her family and a beautiful white wedding in a church. But soon after the celebrations ended, Greg came to his wife with a request. "My dear wife," he said, "you do not need to work in another man's office anymore. I am your husband. I will provide everything. Stay at home and build our home for us." Because Grace respected her husband and trusted his promise, she agreed. She said a sad goodbye to her job and her friends. She stayed home to be a good wife. For a little while, everything was peaceful. But after 2 years, Greg began to change. He became a different man. He started complaining about everything. When Grace asked him for money to buy food or household items, he would get very angry. He would shout at her and call her useless and a parasite. Their happy home became a place of sadness and shouting. Grace wondered many nights what she had done wrong. She would sit by the window, touching her belly gently, wondering why the man who once held her like treasure now treated her like dust. Then Grace found out she was pregnant. She was happy, but also very scared. She prayed every day for her baby to be safe. To avoid making Greg angry, she stopped asking him for money. She was even ashamed to ask for money for her personal needs. Instead, she would quietly call her old friends from her office. Her kind friends would send her money to help her. When it was time for her hospital checkups for the baby, Greg did not go with her. He was not supportive at all. The day came for Grace to have her baby. She went to the hospital alone. Her husband, Greg, was not there. One of her old office friends, Neka, heard that Grace was alone and in need. Neka told their other colleagues. These good people came together like a family. They collected money and used it to pay all of Grace's hospital bills. They gave her the extra money to take care of herself and her new baby girl, Eliora. For 2 whole months, Greg did not call. He did not ask about his wife or his new baby. Grace called his family. They told her, "Greg has traveled for a business trip." But later, Grace heard a rumor. People said Greg was not on a trip. They said he was living with another wealthy lady in another part of the city. Grace's heart was broken. But she looked at her beautiful daughter, Eliora, and knew she had to be strong. She decided to forget about Greg and focus on her child. While her baby slept, Grace would do small jobs for her neighbors. She washed clothes and cleaned houses. She did not tell her own family about her suffering. She was too ashamed. One day, her younger brother, Chike, who lived in Abuja, came to Lagos. He was visiting a friend. At his friend's house, he saw a woman cleaning the floor. He looked closely, and his heart sank. It was his sister, Grace. Grace saw her brother and broke down crying. She told him the whole story. Chike was angry and sad. He said, "My sister, you are coming with me to Abuja. This suffering is over today." Grace and her baby went with Chike to Abuja. Chike had a good job, and he helped Grace find a small job as a secretary in an office. Grace was nervous about her baby. She spoke to her new boss, a kind European woman named Madam Helen. Grace honestly told Madam Helen her story and her childcare problems. Madam Helen was an angel. She said, "You can bring your baby to the office. The cleaner can watch her in the staff room, and you can check on her whenever you are free." This kindness helped Grace so much. She worked very, very hard. From being a secretary, she studied and learned. She was promoted. She became the HR manager, the person in charge of hiring new people for the company. Grace and her daughter were now happy and successful. Her strength became her shield. Her pain became her fuel. She rose slowly, step by step, like the morning sun rising from behind the hills. What happened to Greg? The wealthy lady he was living with soon grew tired of him. She threw him out of her house. Greg had no money and no job. He was desperate for work. Greg quietly relocated to Abuja, far away from Lagos, hoping to start life afresh in a place where no one knew him. He did not look for his wife. He did not look for his daughter. He wanted to hide from his past and pretend his mistakes did not exist. He saw a job advertisement for a clerk in a good company. He applied for the job, hoping to start again where no one knew his past. On the day of the interview, he walked into the office. He was nervous. He entered the interview room and looked up. His heart stopped. Sitting in the big chair, as the boss, was Grace. She was the HR manager. She was the one conducting the interview. Greg was so shocked that he could not speak. He could not answer any of her questions. He did not get the job. Greg went home feeling completely ashamed. He started calling family members and his village elders. He begged them to go and talk to Grace. He wanted them to beg Grace to forgive him so he could get a job and see his daughter. The elders in Greg's family came to Grace. They begged her with tears in their eyes. "Please, Grace, forgive our son. He has seen his foolishness. Take him back as your husband," they pleaded. Grace listened to them quietly, her heart at peace. When they finished, she spoke with a calm strength that commanded respect. "My people," she began, "I thank you for coming. I hold no more anger in my heart for Greg. However, our path as husband and wife has ended." She looked directly at Greg, who could not meet her eyes. "I will not be like the wicked stepmother who denies a child its father," Grace declared. "You can see your daughter, Eliora. I will make a schedule so you can be a part of her life." Then she shared the wisdom of our ancestors. "But hear me, and hear me well," she said, her voice firm. "A man who throws away a yam seedling because it is small does not get to eat from the harvest when the vine has grown. Our marriage was that small seedling you threw away and left to die in the sun. It is dead, and cannot be revived. Grace did not take him back into her life or her home. But true to her forgiving nature, and because she pitied his situation, she did one more kind thing. She spoke to the manager of another firm she knew and helped Greg secure a small clerical job there, a job that would allow him to sustain himself. It was not the life of luxury he had chased, but it was a chance to stand on his own feet again. Greg finally learned that true wealth is not in controlling others, but in building your own character and respecting the dignity of those you love. The moral of the story. My dear listeners, the lesson here is very important. Never give all your power and independence to another person. Your dignity and your ability to stand on your own 2 feet are your most incredible wealth. A true partner should be your support, not your cage. But let us also remember, true strength is not in revenge, but in the power to set boundaries and the grace to show mercy. What do you think about Grace's decision? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is where the story ends, but the lessons never end. If you love cautionary folk tales with timeless lessons, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.